Well, we all know that children can say the darndest things, right? I mean, they just come out of nowhere with these questions that can stump or shock even the most prepared adult. I have 3 boys, and trust me, this is something they do to me all the time.
I hear you, girlfriend. And I have 2 girls, and they do the same thing.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my girls, I told you about this the other day, she's going to be 9, and she's starting to discover her body, pretty normal, the difference in hers and mine. And let me tell you, the questions, Danielle, whew, they're tough to answer.
Exactly. So we've got the experts here with us today. We really wanted to ask the experts just how do you talk to your children about sex? Because it really is not an easy topic, but handling it the right way could actually help a child grow up with a healthy mindset about his or her body and about the physical relationships that they'll probably have later on in life.
Yes, much later in life, if my husband and I have anything to say about that. Well, joining us today is top pediatrician Dr. Judy Goldstein, and back with us today is one of our sexperts, Rachel Braun-Scherl from Zestra. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello. And we're so glad to have you here today. And I want to start with you, Dr. Goldstein, because I know, I have so many questions. But first, I want to tell our viewers out there a few things about you. You are considered a leading pediatrician in Manhattan. You've been selected not once, but twice, one of the best doctors in America. So let's go ahead and start here with the basics. At what age should we start to expect our child to start asking questions about their body and about sex?
Well, these are 2 separate questions, and they require 2 different answers.
Okay.
They start being interested in their body as early as 2 years of life, and certainly between 2 to 5, the body is a focal point in their minds and in their lives. They explore their body, toddlers touch themselves, it feels good. Parents should not overreact, parents shouldn't make them feel guilty, they may just teach them about privacy. It's also very important for parents to name body parts accurately so that these children grow up not with nicknames to their body parts, which they later on...
A lot of parents tend to do that. That's true.
Correct. No nicknames. Parents should tell them, let's change your diaper. Let's change and clean your penis or your vagina. You use those words out in the open in a matter-of-fact way.
I think my mother would drop dead.
Well, that's a different generation.
I know.
Right.
We're now in the virtual generation where there are so many sexual ads and TV shows where the young children are engaged in sexual intercourse. These kids are exposed to an awful amount of input. So at any rate, 2 to 5, we talk about the body.
Very
And Rachel, you have children. I know you're very open, if you will, in talking to them as well, right?
Well, absolutely. And given what I do and spend my days talking about female sexual satisfaction, I find that it's even more important to make sure I'm using appropriate vocabulary, and as Dr. Goldstein has counseled me, not to give them more information than they're actually asking for.
And let's talk about that information. And this is something you and I talked about this morning.
Yes,
okay.
we did.
I called her, Danielle, you're not going to believe this. My older daughter is, again, starting to discover her body, very normal, but she's noticing that mommy's is different from hers, and I had to bring up the word puberty, if you will.
She was even nervous just saying it just right now. What's the problem? I mean,
is that normal?
Well, the problem is you started too late. Okay.
I'm failing the grade.
You would be much more comfortable if you had introduced a relationship of communication about sexual matters with your daughter at a much earlier age. Now let's talk about puberty. Puberty should really be discussed starting at the age of 8. And the concept of menstrual periods has to be introduced as early as that. There is a website called the Hormone Factory, and it addresses puberty in 10 to 12-year-olds. It gives you all the information. Then you can clearly discuss whatever questions may arise in the process.
And you're smiling at this. Do you agree?
Absolutely. My kids are older. I have a teenager, and now that I'm in the position with Zestra, talking to women all the time about female sexual satisfaction, it's very clear that many of them did not get the same advice from their pediatricians. They don't have the language to talk about enjoyment. They might talk about the mechanics, but women don't have a sense of how to articulate what's missing in their sex life and what they might need. And it's interesting that it should be starting so early, and they'd have much better skills.
And here's the thing, getting back to the ages of our particular kids, and certainly a lot of our viewers at home can probably relate to this. As I said, my son is 9, very sweet and really a very, very innocent boy. He comes to me recently and he says, his name is Santana. Santana says, Mommy, how did I get in your tummy? Where did I come from? And I said, well, you came from my tummy.
Right.
Well, how did I get in your tummy? You could have heard a pin drop. Because I didn't know where to go from there. What should I have done in that situation?
you follow your child's lead and you give as much information as the child is ready to receive. But there is nothing wrong in saying, I'd like to discuss this with you, but I want to give it some thought. So can we talk about it later, like, say, in the evening?
Oh, he would hound me down. He would come find me.
Well, then you just tell him that when mommy and daddy love each other very much, they like to be very close, lie in bed together, and then daddy's sperm meets mommy's eggs. And the baby,
my word, sperm.
Oh, yes, and that should probably be brought up at a younger age too.
Right.
Because by 9 they want to know the mechanics. So I'm answering your question only with regard to this being the first conversation that you've had with him. Because if he pushes you further, you'll have to go into the actual mechanics.
I understand.
You should be prepared to always be a step ahead of where the child leads you to.
Doctor, what about for the mom, like me, that is open to everybody about her life, yet when my kids talk to me, I shut down?
You wouldn't be so anxious if you had thought about it earlier and had brought it up earlier so your children would feel more comfortable. So when you talk about sex, you don't just talk about the mechanics or the pleasure, you also talk about the all-important aspect of pregnancy and safe sex. And that's something that has to be broached at a very young age. It's also good to talk about the mechanics of safe sex, such as condoms, and to have condoms ready and prepared at home on a shelf where they are reachable and easily accessible for your teenage children. Because
yeah, teenagers, sure, I get that. That makes sense.
Now, we don't talk about sexual satisfaction per se at age of 9, your age children.
Sure. Has this been helpful for you?
Yes. It's not going to be easy, but it has.
But it's been helpful for me too. So it's really been a great conversation, very eye-opening. And ladies, thank you so much for joining us here this morning to share these tips with us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You know what I have to say to this? I just wish they would have just stayed babies forever.
Well, yeah, that means you'll have to have another one, but that's another story. Now, if you'd like more information from Dr. Goldstein, please go to www.globalpediatrics.com. And for more information on Zestra, go to Zestra.com. Today's show is brought to you in part by Zestra, a natural blend of botanical oils and extracts, clinically proven to enhance a woman's desire, arousal, and satisfaction. Experience the Zestra rush for yourself.